Hey, what's going on, guys? My name is Jonathan Fuentes, and this is my YouTube channel that's dedicated to clearing up common Christian misconceptions. Today, we're going to be tackling the question, is Christianity just a religion about following rules? Seems today more and more people tend to think that Christianity is all about just following the rules, and if you follow the rules, then you'll be able to make your way to heaven. One thing that Christians try to highlight is that Christianity is more about an actual relationship than it is about a religion. When we start to view things like this, we can get a better understanding of how God's rules are meant to actually help us instead of restricting us. The first thing we need to keep in mind is that God's love for us doesn't depend on how well we keep His laws. This is what many people tend to think, and it's also why many people tend to have this legalistic view of God. One way we can test this is by actually asking people to list out the 10 commandments. Although many people won't be able to list out all 10, one thing we will start to notice is that the ones that they are able to list will actually be the do nots of the 10 commandments, which are do not murder, do not steal, do not commit adultery, and do not lie, in the simplest forms. What this shows us is that many people are actually still under the mindset that God only loves us if we're able to follow His rules, and that we actually have to work our way to get into heaven. As Christians, we should know that we're no longer under the law, but under grace. And if we can get a better understanding of what grace is and how it works together with God's laws, we will no longer see them as conflicting. We're going to start by looking at the most popular rules in the Bible, and those are the 10 commandments. We need to first look at who they were given to and what was the purpose of them in the first place. The first question we should be asking ourselves is, why did God give the Israelites laws in the first place? Before the Exodus happened, the Israelites were slaves, and they had been slaves for the last 400 years. So what exactly did they know about being their own people? All they knew was how to be slaves. So how are they going to survive being their own nation? If God wouldn't have established some sort of rules, they most likely would have gotten themselves killed, separated into small groups, enslaved all over again, or started worshiping pagan gods. So as we can see, by God providing the commandments, He was actually establishing guidelines that would keep them safe without them feeling like they were being enslaved all over again. We can get a better understanding of how rules aren't meant to limit us, but instead to protect us by looking at it from the perspective of a parent. One example is when a teenager gets their license. In their head, they expect that they're going to go out every single day, that they're not going to come home till late, or maybe not come home at all. But the thing is, the second they get their license, it also comes with a set of rules as well. Perhaps something like no more than one friend at a time in the car, no texting and driving, no coming home past 10, no going on the highway, etc., etc. At the time, the teen might not see the importance of the rules, but hopefully as they get older, they'll see that those rules were established out of love and not out of confinement. It's the same thing with God's rules and God's laws. When we look at them from God's perspective, we can see that they're actually meant to help us and to protect us. Like a young child, Israel didn't know what the consequences of their disobedience would be. All they knew was how to be slaves, so they didn't understand the consequences of their sin, the effects it would have on their life, the consequences of living like the world, and the dangers it would bring to their new nation. But by the grace of God, He gave them commandments to follow, and although they might not have understood it at the time, it was for their own good and to protect them. Now going back to us, it all comes back to whether or not we really trust God. When we hear about things that we shouldn't be doing, do we still view it as just a religion of rules and laws? Are we still not able to see the grace that comes from the rules and following them? Do we still not see that God's just trying to protect us from having to discover the consequences ourselves? We can know something is bad, and even be told about the consequences of doing them. But if we don't see the grace in why there are laws in the first place, and actually begin to trust in God, then we're still going to think that those rules are only there to hold us back. This is just one thing that we can learn when it comes to studying the 10 commandments, and I hope that we're able to get a better picture of why there are rules in the first place. They're not there to confine us or to restrict us, but they're actually established because God loves us so much and He realizes the dangers of going out and doing our own thing and fulfilling the desires of the flesh. This was also just one way that we can view God's grace. Unless we get a better understanding of God's grace as a whole, we're still going to be living a legalistic life where we feel like we just have to follow the rules in order to get right with God. And I plan on making more videos on this subject in the future, but if you guys like this video, feel free to give it a like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know of any other misconceptions that you guys have heard in the comments down below. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.